Hi, today I'm going to talk quite briefly about a bit of chord theory, specifically the difference between a ninth chord and an add ninth, and also a minor nine and a minor add nine. I'm just going to go through the difference because people often get a bit confused about this, understandably. So some knowledge of sort of basic chord theory is useful for this, but I'm just going to run through that really quickly. I've written some things down here, but I'll put a clearer picture of these here, about here. So a basic major chord contains three notes. It contains a root, which is the first note of a scale, the first note of the major scale, a root, a third and a fifth. So it's the first, the third and the fifth note of the major scale. You might already know this kind of stuff. So if I take the key of A major as an example, the 1, 3 and the 5 in A is A, C sharp and E. Those three notes played together make an A major chord. Now if I was to play a minor chord, then I need 1 flat 3 5, which means instead of A, C sharp and E, which is the 1, 3 and the 5 of the major scale, we flatten C sharp to make it a C. So 1 flat 3 5 is a minor chord. As I said, you probably know that already. Now a dominant seventh chord, if I go back to the major again, which was 1, 3, 5, if you had a flat 7, so in the key of A major that would be a G note, because if you go through the notes of an A major scale, the seventh note of an A major scale is a G sharp. We need to flatten that, so you make it a G rather than a G sharp. And the chord that you end up with, which is the A major chord plus that G, that's called an A dominant seventh. That's the chord that's normally written down just with an A and a 7 next to it. So you can just call it A7. But the proper name is A dominant seventh. Not to be confused with major 7, which is a different thing that we're not looking at today. So A7 or A dominant 7, they're the same thing. So that would be 1, 3, 5, flat 7. So A, C sharp, E, which was the A chord, plus the G. So that's A dominant 7. So we just call that A7. Okay, now I know we're meant to be talking about ninths, but we're going to get onto those in a sec. So if I take that A dominant seventh and add the ninth note of the scale, so if I just go up the A major scale until I get to the ninth one, it's actually the same note as the second note, it's just an octave higher. But that's a B in the key of A. So I take the A dominant seventh that we had, the 1, 3, 5, flat 7, add a 9 onto it. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, A, C sharp, E, G, B. So now what I've got is an A7 chord, and there's also a 9 on it. Now that chord is called A dominant ninth. Can just be written as A9. So just like A7 was A dominant seventh, A9 is A dominant ninth. So it's an A7th chord, but it's got the ninth added to it. Now it's called A dominant ninth or A9. It's not got the word add in there at all. It's just an A7 with a ninth added, and you call it A9. Okay. Now there's another chord which is the same thing, except it hasn't got the seventh. It's the basic A chord, the major chord, the 1, 3 and the 5. In this key it's A, C sharp, E. That's the major chord. But we add the ninth, the B, but there isn't a seventh in there. So it wasn't an A7 and then add a 9. It was just an A chord and we've put a ninth into it. And that is an A add 9. So it's called A add 9 and it's written A plus 9. So the difference between an A9 and an A add 9 is the A9 has got the seventh in there, whereas the A add 9 hasn't. That's it in a nutshell. Now you can do the same thing with minor chords. So we had minor 7, which was 1, flat 3, 5, that's minor, plus the flat 7. That's just basically a minor chord, and you add the flat 7, just like we did with the dominant 7th chord. We add that G note in this key. So you've got 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, A, C, E, plus a G. Right, that's an A minor 7th chord. If you take that chord and add a ninth, which was the B, so just like we did with the major chord, we're doing the same thing with the minor. So we've now got 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9. So in this key it's A, C, E, G, B. Okay, so that is an A minor 7 with the ninth added. That's called A minor 9 or A minor ninth. Written down, that would be A, M9. And if you're following this, hopefully you might be, then you'll know what the next one is, hopefully. It's the same chord, the minor chord, without the 7, and then you add the ninth to it. So it's 1, flat 3, 5, which is a minor chord, with a 9, but no 7. So in this key it's A, C, E, B. There isn't a G in there. So when you take a minor 7 chord and add the 9, then you get a minor ninth chord. But if you take a minor chord and add the 9, it's a minor add 9. So A minor add 9 doesn't have a 7th in it. Hopefully it's not too confusing, but the thing to remember is if there's a 7 in there, and then there's a ninth as well, you don't say the number 7, you just say the number 9, or write the number 9. If there isn't a 7 in there, but it's got a 9, then it's the name of the chord plus the words add 9. So like A add 9 or B add 9. But if there's a 7 in those chords, then it'd be A9 or B9. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, just please put it in the comments and I'll maybe do a follow-up video and try and explain it in a different way. And if you like this video, please click like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if there's any other theory lessons you want to see, then please let me know in the comments, and if I can, I'll try to help. Okay, thanks.